My name's Elizabeth Miller, and I used to be the environment reporter for WCPN Ideastream, Cleveland's NPR PBS affiliate, covering the Great Lakes for Great Lakes Today as part of that, and I was here for the last 3 or so years. I mean, I had a lot of favorite stories. They were all my favorite for a moment, but one of my favorites was going out on a shipwreck dive out in Lake Erie a couple summers ago, where I got to spend the day with a group that goes out and does archaeological surveys of shipwrecks. I got to meet Captain Wayne Bratton before he passed away, and it was just a really great day. They tried to get me to dive. I didn't want to, but maybe someday I will. But that was one of my favorite stories that I got to do. It wasn't a story I did, but it was a Great Lakes story, one of our Great Lakes Today pieces, that a colleague of mine had a conversation about piping water from the Great Lakes to states like Arizona and stuff like that. And I was shocked at how much that took over our website, our web traffic, because people were so nervous and kind of upset, I mean up in arms, at even the thought, the prospect that someone could even say out loud, we might have to pipe Great Lakes water to Arizona someday. And of course that's far off from happening, or at least we like to think it is. But I was always surprised at how much that scared people, and how worried people were at the thought of that. But I'm leaving to cover education in Portland, Oregon, and an education environment story. I've seen a couple of groups and young people kind of popping up to talk more about climate change and environmental issues, especially when they're not hearing that conversation as much federally. So I think that's an interesting topic to explore, is how students and school groups are kind of starting this conversation on their own because they don't see it out there, nationally. I also wish I could have done more about lead in Cleveland, and that's kind of one of my regrets, I guess. I know Rachel DeSalle and Bree Zeltner at the Plain Dealer have their claws in that, and they're doing such great work. I wish I could have contributed to that and found another angle, because I'm sure there's so many more stories left to tell on that. I mean, if you had only known, build relationships from the beginning with people, try to focus the coverage a little bit. When I started, I was covering just general everything. I was a general assignment reporter, and I remember being so overwhelmed with all of the stories. And I wish I could have told myself to just find your niche. And I'm really glad that it was kind of found for me with the environment and the Great Lakes stuff, because otherwise I don't know how I would have learned and gotten better in these last 3 years. I mean, I feel like I've gotten better in the last 3 years, but I would have been so overwhelmed. And because I was kind of pushed into the environment, Great Lakes Today, I kind of found my footing, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, the tote bags, obviously. You get all that gear. No. I think it's just thinking about. I mean, if you're enjoying the reporting, why not support it? It's out there and it's available. It is a public service, but at the same time, there's even more stories to be told, and even greater directions we can go in. And I know there are grant opportunities, there are other funding partnerships that would help public radio cover more of that. I mean, I'm in a pretty small newsroom at Ideastream, and if we had the funds to get 4 more reporters, we could be covering so much more beyond Cleveland, beyond Lorain, beyond Akron. We could cover Northeast Ohio in a greater way. And I think there's a couple things. I think something that I have been shocked to learn is how much work the city is doing. in certain avenues. I really enjoyed going to these climate workshops that the city was hosting with a group like Cleveland Neighborhood Progress, and actually getting out into the community. But I don't think that people knew about that. And of course, that's the media's job to raise awareness and everything. But it's also the city's job to be promoters for itself and highlight what they're doing well. I think that goes to my second point, which is communicate with your reporters. If there's no communication between the city and the media, there's a whole part of a story, there's a whole part of that story that gets lost and that's missing and that people will never know about because there wasn't that communication. So you need a city that communicates with its media in good times and in bad times. I think this is something that public radio could do better at. I think this is something that newspapers, everybody could do better at, which is just talking to their readers, their listeners, their viewers more. Maybe it's a focus group, maybe it's a survey, but hearing from them, maybe it's through Facebook, or Twitter or something, but hearing from them about what they want to see, what they like about your coverage, what they want to see more of, and kind of just understand better what your audience wants. I mean, I'm no like a head executive person or consultant or whatever, but I mean, just something that I appreciated as a reporter is just hearing from the audience, hearing from listeners what they want to see, what they like, what they don't like. I also think it takes support and respect at the top, and for the leaders of a newsroom, of a news organization, to kind of understand how valuable good journalism, good content is, and how valuable reporters and the connections they make are